out of 14 cruise missiles. Russia has escalated its attacks on Ukraine energy infrastructure in recent days, causing significant damage in several regions. Ukrainian energy company Centrinergo announced Saturday that the Zimiev thermal power plant, one of the largest in the northeastern Kharkiv region, was completely destroyed following Russian shelling last week. Power outages schedules were still in place for around 120,000 people in the region, where 700,000 had lost electricity after the plant was hit on March 22nd. In a message Sunday to mark the date when some of Ukraine's Christians celebrate Easter, President Volodymyr Zelensky urged the country to persevere. There is not a day or night right now when Russian terror does not try to shatter our lives. Last night we once again saw rockets and Shaheeds launched against our people, he said. We defend ourselves, we persevere, our spirits does not give up and knows that death can be averted, life can win, Zelensky said. French Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu said France is to deliver hundreds of armored vehicles by the beginning of the next year to Ukraine as part of a new package of military aid for the country that just entered its third year of war since the full-scale Russian invasion. In an interview with the press, Lecornu said that to hold such an extensive front line, the Ukrainian army needs, for example, our armored personnel carriers. It is absolutely key for troop mobility. The French military is currently replacing its old VARB armored personnel carriers that came into service in 1979 with a new generation of armored vehicles. This old equipment, still operational, is going directly to Ukraine in large quantities. We are talking about hundreds of vehicles in 2024 and early 2025, Lecornu said. Lecornu also said France will provide Ukraine with more anti-craft missiles. The move comes as French government is pushing its military industry to boost production to meet Kyiv's urgent need for ammunition. On Tuesday, Lecornu said France will be able to deliver 78 Caesar howitzers to Ukraine and will increase its supply of shells. King Charles III shook hands and chatted with onlookers after attending an Easter service at Windsor Castle on Sunday in his most significant public outing since being diagnosed with cancer last month. The king, dressed in a dark overcoat and shiny blue tie, smiled as he made his way along a rope line outside St. George's Chapel for about 5 minutes, reaching into the crowd to greet supporters who waved get-well cards and snapped photos on a chilly early spring day. "You are very brave to stand out here in the cold," Charles told them. "Keep going strong," one member of the crowd shouted as Charles and Queen Camilla walked by. The 75-year-old monarch's appearance was seen as an effort to reassure the public after Charles stepped back from public duties in early February following an announcement by Buckingham Palace that he was undergoing treatment for an unspecified type of cancer. The king has continued fulfilling his state duties, such as reviewing government papers and meeting with Prime Minister, but his attendance at a traditional royal event like the Easter service is seen as a sign that he is beginning a managed return to public life. British media reported last week that Charles would slowly increase his public appearances after Easter. The service itself was smaller than usual, as Kate, the Princess of Wales, is also being treated for cancer and has paused public duties. The Princess, her husband Prince William, and their children did not attend. Kate's shock announcement that she, too, had cancer was made on March 22nd, after weeks of speculation about her health and whereabouts following major abdominal surgery in February. Charles's enforced absence from public life has been a setback for a man who was eager to put his stamp on the monarchy after waiting almost 74 years, longer than any previous heir, to become king. When he succeeded his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Charles faced the daunting task of demonstrating that the 1,000-year-old monarchy remains relevant in a modern nation whose citizens come from all corners of the globe. After less than 2 years on the throne, the king is still defining himself with the public as he tries to persuade young people and members of minority communities that the royal family can represent them. He knows that being seen by the public and having public goodwill is really what's at the core of a successful monarchy. Royal commentator Jenny Bond told the BBC he needs to have that interaction, and I think he quite enjoys it, actually. Some members of the public seemed reassured. Anne Daly, 65, from Cardiff, Wales, held up a Welsh flag to the former Prince of Wales. "Did you see the smile Charles gave me? He pointed at my flag," she said. "He had a lovely smile. He looked well. I think he was happy that we've all come." Although the duties of a constitutional monarch are largely ceremonial, the job of being a royal can be exhausting. Besides the occasional procession in full royal regalia, there are meetings with political leaders, dedication ceremonies, and events honoring the accomplishments of British citizens. That added up to 161 days of royal engagements during Charles's first year on the throne. The U.S. military said Sunday its forces destroyed one unmanned aerial vehicle in a Houthi rebel-held area of war-ravaged Yemen and another over a crucial shipping route in the Red Sea. It was the latest development in months of tension between the Iran-backed rebels and the U.S. The drones, which were destroyed Saturday morning, pose a threat to U.S. and coalition forces and merchant vessels in the region, said the U.S. Central Command. It said that one drone was destroyed over the Red Sea, while the second was destroyed on the ground as it was prepared to launch. These actions are necessary to protect our forces, ensure freedom of navigation, and make international waters safer and more secure for U.S. coalition and merchant vessels. CENTCOM said the rebels launched a campaign of drone and missile attacks on shipping in the Red Sea in November. They have also fired missiles towards Israel, although those have largely fallen short or have been intercepted. The rebels have described their campaign as an effort to pressure Israel to end its war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The ships targeted by the Houthis, however, largely have had little or no connection to Israel, the U.S. or other nations involved in the war. The Houthis have kept up their campaign of attacks despite more than 2 months of U.S.-led airstrikes. Earlier this month, CENTCOM said its forces also destroyed 4 unmanned aerial vehicles in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. It also said Houthis fired 4 anti-ship ballistic missiles towards the Red Sea, but no injuries or damages were reported by U.S. coalition or commercial ships. The escalation in the Red Sea and the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza impacted the UN-led efforts to relaunch political talks to end Yemen's years-long conflict, according to the UN envoy for Yemen. Gunmen attacked a group of people in Ecuador's coastal city of Guayaquil, killing 9 and injuring 10 others, police said Sunday, the latest in a string of violent incidents in the South American country. The attack took place around 7 p.m. local time Saturday in the southern neighborhood of Guasmo. According to police, the armed group entered a pedestrian street in a gray Chevrolet Spark where a group of people were practicing sports. The gunmen got out of the vehicle and proceeded to shoot people. So far, the result is 9 people dead and 10 injured, Police Colonel Ramiro Arequipa told journalists around midday on Sunday. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the attack. It was the second mass killing in as many days. On Friday, 5 people who had been kidnapped were killed execution style in the coastal province of Manabi by an armed gang, police said. There were signs the victims were tourists mistakenly caught up in a local drug trafficking dispute. They didn't elaborate. In that incident, an armed group had kidnapped a total of 11 people. Police said the other 6, including 5 minors, were rescued. and handed over to their families. 2 suspects were arrested on Saturday morning, according to police. The killings in Manabi remind us that the battle continues, said Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa on the social media network X, formerly Twitter, on Saturday. Narco-terrorism and its allies are looking for spaces to scare us, but they will not succeed, Noboa said. His post contained a video of a man handcuffed and bent over being led away forcefully by an armed police officer. Ecuador was once considered a bastion of peace in Latin America, but in recent years has been seen a surge in violent attacks. Noboa declared a state of emergency in January, which provides for permanent operations by a security force made up of police and military. In addition, a 5-hour curfew is in force in high-incidence areas such as Guayaquil. The Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, has defended the government's decision to charter 2 jets from Canberra for a clean energy announcement in the Hunter region of New South Wales, blaming local airport limitations and a lack of commercial flights. The Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, Bowen, and the Industry Minister, Ed Husic, travelled to Muswellbrook for the announcement of $1 billion for the Sunshot program to support Australian-made solar panels last Thursday. Albanese called it one of the most significant that will be made during our term. Bowen called scrutiny on the travel a fair question after receiving criticism for 2 Liberia shadow ministers, but said the decision had been taken by the Royal Australian Air Force, which operates the planes. He said the Air Force recommended that the most efficient way of getting the Prime Minister and the 2 cabinet ministers to the Lido power station was to fly to Scone Airport. The runway at Scone wasn't strong enough to take the large jet, so the Air Force recommended and took the decision for 2 small jets. Bowen told the press conference the Prime Minister always travels with the Royal Australian Air Force. All Prime Ministers have for living memory. Certainly, as long as I've been involved. That's for security reasons and quite appropriate. The radio station 2GB first reported on Monday that a resident in Muswellbrook had posted a photo on local community Facebook page of 2 Dassault 7X jets on the runway at the Scone Aerodrome on Thursday morning. The Royal Australian Air Force maintains a small group of such planes for government and VIP travel, including for transporting ministers on some official business. The small airport is a short drive north of Muswellbrook, where Albanese and his ministers on Thursday made the solar announcement at the site of the former Liddell coal power station. The Prime Minister said the government wanted to seize the opportunities that are there from the transition to net zero. Flight tracking websites showed 2 Dassault jets operated by the RAAF flew from Canberra to Scone on Thursday morning. Both returned to Canberra that afternoon, with one making a brief stop in Sydney. A father and grandfather have died trying to save a 2-year-old child who fell into a Gold Coast pool on Sunday. The toddler was reportedly playing beside the apartment block pool when they slipped and fell into the deep end about 7 p.m. on Sunday, sparking a double Easter tragedy. The child's father, 38, and grandfather, 65, leapt into the pool to try to save the toddler, only to get in trouble themselves. The Queensland Ambulance Services, Michelle Ware, said bystanders were able to pull the people from the pool and perform CPR until paramedics arrived. However, the grandfather and father died at the scene. A woman, known to the 2 men, was taken to the Gold Coast University Hospital in an emotional but stable condition. It is an extremely emotional scene. Anyone could understand that, not just to lose one family member, but to lose 2 family members, Ware said. These incidents can have long-lasting effects for not just the family members involved, but also the people that were at the scene as well, and also the first responders. School holidays and the Easter break are a particularly busy time for emergency service workers, where there is a spike in drownings, he said. I will just reiterate to the community to exercise due care, especially if you are not a strong swimmer, and especially if there's young children around, that you are really careful where said, because we know that children and even adults can drown within a couple of seconds if they find themselves in those sort of situations. The family was understood to be holidaying at the apartment complex on Orchid Avenue. Orchid Avenue. Queensland police are investigating and a report will be prepared for the coroner. And that's the international news for today. Before we go, another look at the major stories. South Africa, Zuma not eligible in upcoming elections, Electoral Commission. Gaza, Israeli military withdraw from Shifa Hospital. India, alliance of opposition parties launch election campaign. Ukraine, Russian missile strikes infrastructure, killing 2. United States military says it destroyed Houthi UAV in Red Sea. Australia, grandfather die while rescuing 2-year-old child.